Hello, welcome back to another relationship video. If you're watching this, you probably saw my last video about how to do energy work to dissolve old energies that you've embodied around relationships. But there's more to it than that, right? So we can release energy all day. You can go get energy work done, Reiki, whatever calls to you. But like I said in my last video, you are your own energy worker. We're all energy workers, and every breath you take, every thought you think, the energies are constantly shifting and changing. You attune your energies constantly. So if we're gonna learn how to dissolve old energy and release it, we definitely want to also make sure that we're not creating a bunch of emotional gunk, putting those bricks on our shoulders to weigh ourselves down and to affect our relationships with other people. So the last example was more like if you have somebody in your life with unfinished business, unsaid words, or you haven't expressed yourself, and going through that process of communicating, expressing, releasing, feeling and breathing as all those old emotions dissolve away until you feel clear and smooth and your words flow with ease. So now what about situations that arise in your life? Because this is really important with people in your life so that you can have a good, I'll say clear relationship where there's no push-pull energy. There's no where they feel around you or you feel like that around them. I always say relationships are usually there's there's these little dynamics, and a lot of times it's a push-pull, or somebody who there might be some person who's more controlling, who is more overbearing, yada, 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 and then the other person who tends to pull away. That's a very common dynamic, or whatever it is. There's all different dynamics, as we know. But I'm gonna start out with just as we deal with people in our everyday life, taking it to ground zero, and that is really being in and of and as your true self, in alignment with what's you, clarity, being clear on what is you and what is the ego, who you really are, and what is this egoic structure that we've all created that loves to be right, self-righteous, to feel special. It sometimes loves to be the bigger person, the better person, the victor, the more powerful one, the smart one, the enlightened one, the yada yada, or sometimes it loves to be the victim, to get pity, sympathy, empathy. So being clear in what is you and what is not is very important. And so always taking a breath and asking yourself, is this really me? Is this coming from the heart, from my soul, my essence, my true self? I will say as a facet of creator, that pure source benevolence. And one way you can check that is your true self. And this goes back to my other program, the group program, Everyday Life as Creator. It's all about living every step of your life as that expression of pure benevolence, and always showing up as the highest aspect of yourself and being aware of that. Even if you can't 100% show up, being aware of what is you and what is not is the most important thing, to allow that awareness to grow and allow your life to shift with ease. So when it comes to relationships with other people, your true self, your purest expression would never try to control another person, have an agenda, manipulate, lie, cheat, steal. These are pretty common, but they seem obvious, but it's good to review because that egoic structure I mentioned is tricky. It will, it'll try to convince you that you're right. That you're right to act that way, or to be mad, or to be, forceful, or blah, blah, blah. And this is especially good for parents. So being aware, I'm going to use an example of my older daughter, actually. So just going back to that benevolence, though, the ego It loves to be in charge. It loves to be the one. And so whatever your ego is, it might be the victim and it might be the hero. You know, the smaller ego, it's always smaller, bigger, less, worse, right, wrong. I'm always wrong. I'm such a bad person. Or, you know, they're always wrong. So be aware of that. If it's going on with another person, if there's some where you feel this conflict with them. So let's start by accepting them and accepting the situation. Of course, taking a breath, stepping back, always taking a breath, stepping back, feeling your presence. It's good to just get into that habit for everything. Stepping back, feeling your presence, and really tuning into what's you and what's not you. From there, having no assumptions, because this little yapper over here is in patterns and conditioning. There's old stories, old patterns, old conditioning, and as soon as something, we'll say, sort of flares up in your life, it's gonna go, oh yeah, here's my chance. Rah, it's my big moment to take the driver's seat and really throw you into an emotional tailspin. The ego loves that. That's power, that's food, that's you know, it's like people are addicted to some extent to their drama, to the adrenaline rush of either so high or so low. You feel very alive when you're angry, for example, or maybe when you're just very sad. There's a depth to this feeling, but you in your pure benevolence feel it's more subtle, it's lighter, but this is all about releasing those old energies so you can feel more of you. And that is more of a steady stream, we'll say, without the highs and lows and the explosions and fireworks and all that kind of stuff. So let's just go right into an example. So when this little, it's about taking that breath and stepping back, coming into your isness and not thinking about it, not buying into these ideas, stories, or whatever. So when my older daughter, maybe someday she'll watch this, hey Morgan. No, when she was in high school, you know, I remember there were a few nights where she came home after curfew, and I might have mentioned it once or twice. And at this point, if there are any parents here, you might understand the internal fire that may build inside of you when your teenage child comes home late after being asked to be on time more than once. And I just remember this intense, like, inside of me. And let me just clarify, that was egoic, you know. There might have been old energy, and it's good to feel it, not deny it, not suppress it, let it come up, all that good stuff. But I could tell right away that it was like this, I will say, loss of control, right? So this goes back to not having an agenda, not trying to control anybody, not having power over anybody. We don't have control over other people. Period. End of story. Even your children, if you think you can control them, good luck with that. Doesn't mean you're not going to have some just very common sense rules, like you need to clean your own bathroom and it needs to be done by the end of every week. Okay, that's not so much control. We'll call that common sense, how to live, you know, or you doing your laundry or whatever you have your children do, for example. So it doesn't mean that it's just like a free-for-all for everything. This is more about you trying to control their behaviors and things like that, which you simply can't. So as my daughter was late, I remember this rage arising, and again, I took a breath and I stepped back and I realized the mind was going, all these stories, right? How I've talked to her so many times and didn't even text me, yada, yada, yada. The key here, it's so important not to engage with that. These thoughts, these stories. Here's what happens. If you jump in and you grasp onto one of these, this is that energy work I was talking about. Yeah, and you start chewing on it. You start going down that corridor. You start following that stream of thoughts and memories and yeah, and that one time this and that one time that and blah, blah, blah. And now you're more worked up. Your nervous system is getting out of whack. Your adrenals are pumping. your cells are aging at the speed of light right now. Your body, literally, and I don't mean aging like you're going to get wrinkles. I'm talking about your organs, your veins. This is where your body is now in fight or flight mode, and it can't bring all the nutrients that it needs just to do its normal rebuilding. Because when everything's good and you're relaxed, your body's just, it's just humming along. So anyway, when these thoughts arise, it's like, no, I'm not, I'm going to sit back here and watch these. Thankfully, by now, I had this awareness to do this. And I can remember the ego so powerfully. It is such, it's so seductive, right? It's like, you wanna go there, right? And I remember just like, and I was awake, it's like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or whatever time it was, and like wanting to wait by the door and like jump someone's ass when they got home. And it was like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And don't make any assumptions. So another thing happens when something arises like that within a relationship. A lot of times this voice goes to assumptions. It assumes the worst. It starts, going back through its little file cabinet of things that they did to build its case against them. Because now it's us against them instead of we're a team together. The whole idea is to come together from the heart in relationships and resolve things together. So rather than go in that path, I didn't buy into the thoughts. Now, if you start going down those streams, start thinking these thoughts, it's basically like taking big wads of big, heavy, sloppy, sticky energy and chucking it at them. And they're going to feel it, She wouldn't even be home yet, and she'd be feeling like, oh my God, ew, I don't want to go home. I don't feel good about going home right now. And maybe delay coming home for another hour. Maybe, oops, I got a flat tire, and literally sometimes things will manifest in the physical because of your subconscious energy. So she literally could have gotten a flat tire, and it was more of an energy, energy is, the physical is a reflection of our energy as creator. So things like that actually happen when internally you are wanting them to happen. It's sort of like deep down, you want to get sick so you don't have to go to work tomorrow or whatever it is, right? So by not grabbing onto those thoughts, by not making assumptions, by not going into the stories, you're not sending them a bunch of crappy energy. And that energy, it's like sending people this load of tar, of crap, that makes them feel repelled from you. So you're already starting at a disadvantage if you want to have a good, clear relationship with that person. You've already set the stage to push them away, to make them not want to talk to you. It's like the moment they would get home, they would run upstairs and hide or, slam the door. Or even if you get to talk to them face to face, they're going to slam the door energetically. So not going into that is important. So then it's like, well, what do I do? As a parent, I got to address this, right? How do I address this? Well, let's go back to the relationships being clear. It's about having a clear connection with no barriers, no need for, barbed wire and protective gear and shields and all that kind of stuff. Being able to open your heart and connect with someone. Well, it starts with you. Somebody's got to take the first step, right? Or be the example, you could say. So I remember asking, now I will say I still felt all this, like this ego energy was still here, like, Arr. And I took a breath and said, are you okay? Whoa. And then there was a whole story. There was a whole bunch of stuff that she would have never shared with me, I tell you that. A whole bunch of interesting stuff about what was going on that night with her life, friends, whatever. But rather than approach somebody with an assumption, what if we showed up and said, hey, is everything okay? Yeah. How can we work together to fix this? Is there something I can do? Is there something I did? Just, why not? because at least you're starting with the space clear and an open heart and an open mind. So if you got something going on, if somebody pisses you off, if something's happening that way, I challenge you not to think about it. Don't engage with those thoughts. Resist the urge. You know, it's like potato chips. You can't think just one. Just say no, nope, nope. And if you want, you just take that little story, that thought, and you just put it way over there. Send it up to the sun, right to the sun. I do that a lot. Boop. Nope, I don't want that. Nope. And I'm not in denial of it. It's just I'm not choosing to bring that in and anchor it in to my energy field, to my reality, to my mind, my body. Because I said, like, every one of those is like little bricks you put on your shoulders. So it's like, oh yeah, no, we're not doing that anymore. And as you do this more and more and more, it's like it becomes, again, that energetic muscle that they stop showing up. It's like you've rewritten, this actually goes into your body, because as we're breathing, we're feeling our presence, we're letting those energies dissolve, we're changing the thoughts. The brain, you go to bed at night and it's rewriting. It's rewriting based on the choices you make every single day. So your energy changes, the health of your body changes, your mind, how you feel, that mental, physical, emotional well-being, and then your relationships, because people aren't feeling all this gunk, because we're all energetically sensitive. Some people have better ways of avoiding it, of distracting themselves, of numbing themselves or whatever. But we all feel it. So it's best to just clear it up and take care of it so that you don't have to distract or numb yourself, and that you can have fun with other people. Now, once in a while, people are manipulative, and they will take advantage of that. If you're always showing up and, oh, is everything okay with you? So you stay aware, you're discerning. Doesn't mean you're gonna 100% take their their word for it if they say, oh, I'm just so busy, I don't have the 5 minutes ever to call you when I'm running late. It's like, I'm just not buying that. I'm gonna need you to figure it out. Maybe we're gonna have to cancel an after school activity or whatever the heck, So it's good to show up and assume the best. Show up with an open heart. Don't assume anything, but it's like, if you're gonna assume anything, don't assume the worst. Because then people are gonna show up and match you there. You're gonna actually kind of send them that energy, and they might subconsciously do, quote, the worst, or whatever that means. But don't assume anything, and show up with an open heart and see what happens. Doesn't mean you're not discerning. Doesn't mean you're gonna be, you're gonna let people take advantage of you. You're gonna be more open, more aware, more able to see through things. You just, hopefully, if you go back to the last video, as you breathe through all this stuff and you refine your energy more and more and more, you see it for what it is. And as that pure source benevolence, you're not trying to control anyone. It's like if somebody wants to be a manipulation, if they have agendas they want to try to control, or, whether they want to dominate or be the victim, it's like, all right, knock yourself out. But yeah, I'm going to go over here and do this. You have fun. And it doesn't need to affect you, your mind, or your body. All right. Thank you for joining me today. Again, if you want more info on our Everyday Life as Creator course, or sessions, or the energetic journeys, the audios that I provide, head to my website at kathybauman.com. And if you have any questions or requests ever, my videos, anything, let me know. Thank you so much. Namaste.